Guys, we got another top 8. This time it's a little more interesting. We have mine, branded Eldlich. So, you want to introduce yourself, give any shout outs?
Yeah, so I'm Alex Mondlak. Like, a lot of people here and there tend to know me for Cybers, but I just decided to play Eldlich because didn't have time to test really, so I was like, alright, work smarter, not harder, just flip floodgates and try to beat that. But I ended up making this deck kind of last minute, and it worked better than I anticipated, honestly. But getting to the deck profile, kind of starting with the Garnets, 2 Fallen Wallabaths, pretty normal. Ecclesia, I played Nadir Servant because in light of that new fusion monster, that super poly target, it's like Engage, essentially, where you add Ecclesia and then you can draw 1 card. So that's like a lot of tempo right then and there, and it worked. Like, it actually worked amazingly, so I have no regrets about the Dogmatica engine. Then Gizmek, Golden Lord. So Gizmek is the dark target for the branded engine. Like, everyone was on DD Crow, right? So I was like, okay, I can't exactly go Albion where they will go Chain Crow on Fallen Albaz and you just lose. So I was like, alright, I need a dark target for Lubellion, and Gizmek ended up being the best bet. Like, the card that kind of got cut was like Necro Banshee, where I was like, oh, Zombie World isn't the best, especially if you lose the die roll, like, going first. So I was like, alright, Gizmek's the safe bet, gets more damage in, consistent body, consistent threat, and it worked well. Like, there was like 2 matches where I resolved Brand Fusion, Brawl Gizmek, and dodged around Crow. And then 3 Pod Prosperities I borrowed off my buddy. Shout out to Sack. Like, he pretty much last minute I found out.
Let's go. It's about to take him back right now, but you know, we love him.
Yeah.
3 Prosperity.
Yeah, it has to save money. And then 3 Curse Outland. Pretty standard for the most part with Modern Eldlich. It's literally like a Modern Cleaford Scout, and if they like spot remove it with anything other than Cosmic, you just keep your tempo up. 3 Brand Fusion, and then 2 Nadir Servant. Nothing too surprising after you saw the monster lineup. 1 Call by the Grave, and then the ridiculous cards. So essentially, when I was like discussing theory of my buddy, the big issue I saw with a lot of Eldlich lists is with their Floodgate lineup, especially if they're on branded, they can conflict. Like, if you open Rivalry, Brand Fusion, now you have to navigate around your Rivalry, otherwise you lock yourself out of Eldlich, you have to play awkwardly. And plus, the other big thing is, I wanted Floodgates that are good going second if I lost the die roll. And sure enough, these cards actually overperform. Like, against, like, Splight, right? They go totally awesome. Special variant standby phase. You're like, alright, cool. Demise of Land. Bait Toad out. Alright. Mystic Mine are, like, pot into it. So, it was really good. I actually have no complaints. Like, it was kind of like a Regional 2 where people just kind of forgot this package existed. So, it worked. I have no complaints about that. And then 3 Super Poly. So this one was kind of following a similar logic to this, where if I lost a die roll game 1, I wanted a card that's good going first and second. And this card honestly overperformed because with that new fusion being out, when someone's just comboing midway, you just go, alright, Super Poly, snipe 2 of their guys, and now you're sitting on like Floodgates and or Eldlich cards just to pick off the remaining extenders. So, no complaints about that. Then kind of moving on to Eldritch Engine, Elixir, and then 3, 1 Hokero. So kind of the reasoning behind this ratio in particular was with Hokero, sometimes it can be a suboptimal draw. So I was like, alright, I kind of want to minimize on this a bit, and I don't regret it. Like, there were some grind games where I did kind of miss the second Hokero, but more often than not, I was just fine. And then with the Elixir, this one's also kind of a personal preference, but this one is just kind of like, hey, you can just get an easier setup going first. Like, if you open like Elixir, Eldland, okay, congrats. Like, now you got the full Eldlich setup and not have to really overly worry about this getting stopped just in case. But overall, nothing too complaining about that. And then just kind of the remaining. So 2 Dogmatica Punishment, 3 Skill Drain, and then Metaverse. So Metaverse was kind of arguably not as good as like Demise of the Land, because with Demise you can use it during your turn. But this, like, you have to set it first, so if you lost a die roll, you need to essentially bank on opening enough disruption or bait to get their negates out, then try to make Metaverse resolve. Some games that opening happened, but you open suboptimal against a full board, especially against like a Venture, Splight, Punk. Good luck with that. Like, it's sometimes can be rough, but there's no deck that wins 100% of the time. But overall, main deck, no complaints at all, honestly. I thought it was amazing.
Yeah, what was your toughest matchup of the day? I know you lost display with Charlie.
Yeah, so I lost to Charlie because of the Adventure Engine, and I would say it was that one because of the Adventure Engine specifically. With me being as mine heavy as I was, if someone just opens a Venture, grab Draco back, it's like, oh, if I don't open and out to the token, which some Sky Striker players play Offering to Doom, which I considered, I didn't. Instead, I used Super Poly. That, I would say, that specifically was the hardest. And in total, I think I played against 3 Splites and then like 5 Adventure decks in total all day. So overall, though, like considering going 7-1, facing against like, oh, my worst nightmare, the Adventure Engine, like 5 times, yeah, I can't complain about that. Now, kind of moving on to extra deck. So these are kind of the Fusion lineup. So Fusion lineup was really solid. Like, essentially, Punishment target, Nadir target, Super Poly, Super Poly, Super Poly targets. This card's stupid. Like, I think this card's like only $8 right now. It honestly feels undervalued. I summoned this thing like 9 times, like today, off of Super Poly. Like, it is ridiculous how generic it is. Like, it didn't really click on me how insane this was until I played against decks like Splight, where normally you wouldn't expect them to run Super Poly, but they do, and it's relevant when they do. So, no complaints about this card at all. This card's insane. I'm considering bumping it up to 2. Maybe, like, I could see myself maybe cutting the Titanic Clad for a second one of this, because this only came out like once the whole day. It wasn't bad. Like, sent off Mirror Jade, got the Ecclesia, but it was just kind of like, eh. And then just kind of wrapping it up, Pallades, Vampire, Fascinator, and this. So this one is a kind of a tech card. So essentially, a lot of Eldlich players like to play BLS and such, but this thing can be brought out easier than BLS can. And especially if you're not playing branded, I would really recommend this card. Essentially, in a nutshell, this thing is a Charmer for any attribute, and it can also tribute itself an Econ monster. So if you don't have access to branded package, you can easily go, all right, Charmer, steal something out of their grave. Link with Eldlich, often in Fascinator, steal anything out of their grave, bring out Eldlich, and then Econ something. Like, if they're surviving all of that, then they're the best player on Earth if all of that went through. But can't complain about that lineup at all. And then just kind of the side deck for any Eldlich side is nothing too out of the ordinary. 3 Lava Golem, these 3, these 3, these 3, and then these 3.
Seems like a lot of going first, huh? So
yeah.
8 cards going first.
Yeah, so these 2 were the kind of the going first side was like where I debated on. Like, that was like the last call I had to make. And I was like, oh, I was debating Sphere Mode as one of those. And I would consider Sphere Mode, honestly. Like, I could see myself kind of tweaking the side. Like, I could see myself maybe cutting Duster. And then maybe rearranging the going first side, because these cards were amazing, like, in general, like, because Branded Fusion can access them, but it just kind of, I would agree, it did feel like 8 was a bit overkill at times. Like, I would say, if I had revised it, only have 6 going first, and I would consider, like, Lava Golem Sphere Mode, because like literally everyone ran in Sphere mode today if I had it. So
Yeah, but the lava golem's still putting in work.
oh yeah, they were amazing, and it was just like lava golem with super poly and all that was just like really relevant. So.
All right, cool. Well, thanks so much for the deck profile, and congrats on the top 8. I know people hate mine, but you know I love it. We gotta get it banned somehow. So.
Oh, I
awesome.
agree. Hopefully that pushes Konami to do it finally.